The woman, face burning with fury, burst into a top-tier research facility in the United States because her husband, a man worth $40 billion, had had his body stolen. She swore to get her husband's remains back and give him a proper funeral. Ever since her husband was killed by Thanos, his body had been secretly detained by the director, even dismembered, to be sold for money. When she saw her husband's body torn apart, an unbearable pain surged in her heart. She clenched her fists and unleashed powerful magic. The bulletproof glass shattered under the force. Then, in deep sorrow, she walked to her husband's side, trying to use the power of the Soul Stone to sense him. But by then, her husband had become nothing but a cold corpse. He could no longer respond to her presence. At that moment, she finally believed that her husband was truly gone. In despair, she quietly left the research center. Returning to her car, she opened the last letter her husband had left for her. A bold thought suddenly flashed in her mind. She drove to the small town mentioned in the letter, the place where she and her husband had promised to grow old together. Opening the letter, she saw the house design her husband had personally drawn. She could no longer hold back her tears. Ignoring everything else, she decided to use all her strength to rebuild a place where her husband could exist. In an instant, crimson magical energy surged like a flood, expanding wildly. Wherever it went, the world was altered by her will. The entire town transformed into her ideal version. Everything seemed to return to the 1950s. Soon, the house her husband had designed was completed, and she used magic to create a virtual illusion. As long as she was within her magical range, everything could be made to appear real. After expending vast amounts of energy, she succeeded. Not only that, to see her husband again, she decided to reconstruct his physical form. Although the process was excruciating, with the help of the Soul Stone, they eventually revived her husband. However, since his body had long since vanished, he could only exist within the illusion the woman created. And so, they finally lived the ideal life they had dreamed of. But the other townsfolk had become puppets of magic. Losing their thoughts, they mechanically repeated preset commands. The woman managed the household, while her husband resumed his normal life, going to work every day. Everything seemed perfect, gradually falling into the ideal routine. But one day, while the woman was busy in the yard, she suddenly noticed a helicopter that didn't belong there, landing at their house. Then, when she attended a play, she heard strange noises from the nearby radio. The sound seemed like someone was calling her name repeatedly. Late at night, as the woman and her husband took a walk, they spotted a beekeeper climbing out of a sewer.